What's happening, family? It is your man, CRB Jr., Courtney Robert Brown Jr., here with his partner and friend.
What up,
Big
man?
Lou, how you feeling, man?
Man, I'm going to tell you, it's an exciting time here at Big Boss
It's
Filmworks.
exciting time, Big Boss Filmworks. The lab, you got a lot on your plate. Let me just say this, family. You know, this is why in your business ventures and things, you got to find people who share your vision. Because this man has so much on his plate, and you guys will see it by the end of this year.
Oh, yeah.
The fruits of it.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to find people who share the vision. Luckily, we hooked up with some other good people.
Very good people.
Some other executive producers, some other
Absolutely.
directors, and bringing in some people.
Yeah.
And it's just a good thing. But anyway, all good with you, man.
All's good, man.
All good.
yeah.
All considered with everything.
Oh, yeah.
Do
Big
you
time.
know that this is show 76 of the Motown Mafia podcast? Wow. It's really been more than that, but since we started
been more than that.
Since
but
we started officially counting,
yeah.
this is the 76th show of the Motown Mafia podcast. So, of course, Motown Mafia podcast, which is, of course, a Big Boss Filmworks production.
Yep.
With that said, please, guys, help the algorithm out so we can share this, so we can grow, so we can keep bringing you guys
Share the
hopefully
wealth.
some quality content. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button. It's free. It don't cost you anything. Helps the algorithm. We who are here at Big Boss trying to give stimulating mental conversations and
Absolutely.
entertaining stories
Yes.
without embarrassing ourselves or talking to you guys like you're slow. And shout out to everybody else out there.
Yeah.
We were just on the website buying us some stuff, which they'll be seeing from.
Yes.
From where are we buying this? Who are we supporting?
Big Cavario.
Cavario H.
Cavario H.
And what site were we shopping on?
That was called the mindplugacademy.com.
He's got some hot stuff. He is that mind plug. As you know, he's a brother with incredible street history knowledge. I mean, he's an absolute Harlem legend. But he's actually an intellectual and a philosopher.
Definitely.
I think that's a great name for his brand. He's been the plug, and he's got a good mind.
Definitely.
So check that out. We're supporting him. Who else out there? Shout out to Brother Pep, Brother Skip. We're going through some of the stuff that's going to be. They're going to be featured. Not a spoiler alert. They're going to be featured in the project coming up, along with Cavario.
Along with Cavario.
And some other people whose names we won't mention, godfathers of techno and
Yes,
many other and Ivy League legends.
Definitely.
Catholic League and Ivy League legends.
Ivy League legends.
Mr.
And
Steinem himself.
yes.
WW, willing to work.
And tech billionaires.
Tech billionaires. It ain't too late. Your man ain't too proud to beg. I'm just going to say it, man. You know, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I know you buy it. I know world domination. You don't have. But hey, seed money is seed money. But anyway,
Definitely.
different conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
But a few things going on out here in the world. But you know, when we were doing the work that you've been doing on the two projects,
Yes.
there's a centerpiece, of course, when you tell, you know, when this thing all started. I don't know if I even told you this anecdote.
okay.
When this thing started some 13 years ago. Like
Right.
Prior documentary. By the way, Motown Mafia, story of Eddie Jackson and Courtney Brown, available on Tubi TV, Amazon Prime, Pluto TV, and many others. Award-winning documentary. Check it out. Also the book, Motown Mafia, Memoirs of a Kingpin's Kid, wrote and produced by this team here, available on Amazon. But when this whole thing was starting,
Right.
and you'll remember this part, after I'd watched that movie, shout out those guys from Pierre Studios.
Pierre Studios.
I'd watched that movie,
Yes,
The City Is Mine.
City is Mine.
And it inspired me to say, hey, man, I saw this movie these brothers made, Lou, and if they can make this movie, I think we should make a movie.
That's
and
right.
You didn't know that you were already a film student. And then I told you the story about Pops and Eddie, and you was like, that's a good story. Whose story is that? I was like, that's our story.
That's our story, right?
That's our story. You were like, what?
No.
But so when I go to Eddie So when this thing all starts, I done talked to you, me and you done had these initial conversations in your grandmom's house, right?
Yes.
And so I'm working it out in my mind, and I called up to Eddie. Shout out to Patricia, his sister Patricia. Oh, I got to call you back, Patricia. I said I was going to call you back. Anyway, shout out Patricia and the whole Jackson family. I catch up to both of them at the same time, and I'm like, y'all, I want to do a movie about my father. And they was like, and I was like, but I can't really tell my father's story without telling your father's story. So I need y'all to be, because
on board,
like,
right?
Yeah, it's like it's impossible. You can't tell the Courtney Brown story without basically telling at least a portion of the Eddie Jackson story, right?
Absolutely.
So they was both like, whatever, because you're crazy at this time. This is before YouTube and any of this stuff, before the doc and the book, and they were like, yeah, whatever, Junior, you know. Go ahead, whatever you're gonna do,
right.
Go ahead and do it, because you're about to, you've obviously lost your mind. But I say all that to say the origin of how, how this thing kind of began, and and then I had told Eddie and them that we was gonna do this, so it made me do some thinking, like, now with all that's passed and how familiar people are with Eddie and with me and stuff that Al has done and all of that.
Yeah.
It's so much, it's hard to connect for people. Yeah. So I want to take you guys back to this is got to be 1981.
Okay.
YBI is the hottest thing in the city, right?
That's right.
So this is basically this is all going to lead to the first criminal activities of being Eddie, who had grew up obviously in the lap of luxury in the suburbs, had the paradise childhood, every toy and every motorcycle, moped, and we spent our days in the summertime swimming in Eddie's Olympic-sized swimming pool in the back, and it was the grand hustle.
Right. It was
the grand hustle, and we were living the lives of kids in the grand hustle.
That's right.
Right. So then Pops and them go away. So obviously when Eddie's old man goes away, I'm about 12.
Okay.
So I'm old enough to really realize things about to change, because I'm like, my neighbor, my Pop's boss, and the man, he ain't here no more. But Pop and the rest of the crew was still out.
Okay.
But I think I told you, but then I remember like the day that the letter came from the Supreme Court saying they refused to. Looking back, I think Pops did it on purpose. He left the letter out. I got the mail, and I could.
It was kind of his way of letting you know.
Right. It said U.S. Supreme Court, attention, Courtney Brown, and he opened it, and he read it, but he didn't take it to his office or take it up to the bedroom. He left it on the kitchen counter.
Yeah.
And kids being kid, I pick it up, and it basically says the Supreme Court has decided not to hear your case. The lower courts, the U.S. federal appeals courts rulings will hold.
That had to be heavy news for a 12-year-old.
It was. So we grew up fast. I mean, you're closer to the story. I mean, my childhood that day in March of '73 when I picked up the newspaper, and it had Daddy and Eddie all in it and calling them kingpins. A lot of my childhood ended that day.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So within those 2 years between when it was all in the paper and these 3 years, by the time I'm reading this letter from the Supreme Court saying, so I knew what that meant, that they had already, the U.S. Federal Appeals Court had already ruled against them.
Okay.
And upheld the circuit court and the district court.
Okay.
So they kept appealing. That's why the bonds, and Eddie's paying everybody's bond to keep everybody out on appeal bond. And by this time, when we would be going down to Gene the barber, he had a shop. Man who owned this building before we bought it.
Where we're at right now.
Yeah, but he was downtown, and that's where Eddie and my Pops and Dolph and all the fellas get their hair cut and all the other players. And I remember in that same period, again, Pops was trying to lead some breadcrumbs. I just remember him saying, I'm just ready for it to be over. If we got to go away, we go away. If we get away, if we get off, we get off. I'm just, because, it's been 7 years.
Yeah.
7 years.
Yeah.
Not knowing. 7 years they had strung out.
Yeah, there had to be a lot on the head.
Yeah, so he was like, his way of saying, it's time for this. Whatever gonna happen, about to happen. Mm-hmm. So anyway, they go away. So Eddie go away first. He get caught out in Vegas. And so that violated his bond. And the Supreme Court had already ruled against him. So Eddie go away. Mm-hmm. Everybody else got a chance to self-surrender.
Right.
April 1st, 1977. 5-0, Rudolph, Pops,
mm-hmm.
Big Willie, Kilpatrick, R.I.P., all those guys that are gone. The whole rest of the crew had to turn themselves in April 1st, 77.
Right.
So they go away, so that's 77. So now I'm starting the story in 81, so about 4 years after they done went away. So if I'm 12 in 77, I'm 16 in 81, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm driving now. Eddie Baby is 18 months younger than me, so he can't drive yet. So Eddie Baby can't drive, but Eddie, as fate would have it, truly as fate would have it, his auntie Lisa had started dating a guy by the name of Tracy Sledge, a.k.a. later would be known as a.k.a. Jabba the Hutt.
Rest in peace.
Who was, rest in peace, just transitioned not so long ago, a couple months ago actually. Tracy, of course, lived across the street from, if you read Bound by Honor, Torn by Greed, great book by Pepsi and Skip. Pep talks about how him and Tracy's relationship was. That's available on Amazon, too. It is a great book if you really want to know some YBI
check that
stuff.
one out.
Check out Pep's book. Anyway, Tracy lived across the street from Pep. Pep, of course, would become hugely involved in the whole YBI thing. Tracy. So anyway, as I'm driving, Eddie would want to hang out with his niece, or his auntie rather, his auntie Lisa, God rest her soul, and her boyfriend Tracy. But Eddie ain't got no car. So I'd pick him up and drive him. And so that's how I meet Tracy, and that's how I meet Pep, and that's how I meet all these guys. Rest in peace, Brett Goodwin, and all that whole kind of YBI situation. But the thing was, because niggas talk, that the world is small, especially in that world.
Right.
So people were saying, Eddie Jr. and Courtney Jr. be over there on Dexter. And this didn't made it all the way back to Milan Federal Penitentiary.
Back to the pen.
And them niggas just snitched us out that Eddie Baby and Courtney Jr. over there dealing with them guys on Dexter, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm setting up a justification for the actions of the big man and of my father. So they already hearing that we running around.
Y'all outside.
We outside.
Y'all outside.
We already outside. And they ain't ask us to be outside.
Right.
But we outside anyway.
Right.
So that leads us to keep the story moving. Eddie liked to smoke weed. Just because he was locked up, Big Man didn't see that was a good reason to stop smoking weed.
Okay.
So Big Man decided that he needs some weed. And he wants some weed inside the federal penitentiary.
That's right.
Now, because the authorities are geniuses, they didn't put my father and Eddie in charge of the trucks in the kitchen. They both working in the kitchen. This is what they think is a good idea. Now, the only thing I can say in defense of the government, it ain't like you got a big selection of people to choose from in the federal penitentiary, especially at that time.
Right.
They're all top tier.
Yeah. Kingpins.
Kingpins. So take your choice. Which kingpin I'm going to let have access to the trucks coming and going.
Yeah, big time.
So these guys are about to get out shortly, so they should be a little more motivated to follow the rules than the rest.
Right.
Didn't quite work out like that.
Okay.
Okay, so fine. But I don't know, because they was getting the weed in without our help. I don't know if one of the guards got fired or what happened, but something occurred that I'm visiting my old man, and we get up from the table with my mom and sister, and we at the vending machines in the joint together, and he like, Eddie Baby gonna be talking to you about something.
Okay. I ask you this question.
Uh-huh.
What makes me wonder is, do you think this was like a test run type situation, similar to like the dry run going to the Bahamas, that kind of thing?
We never worried about getting caught by the local or state authorities. Our fear was always federal conspiracy case, not even really a possession case. You weren't going to catch us with it. If the local cops can catch you, you're not very good, because the only people the local cops catch are people who are advertising they're doing wrong. But you got to understand that the level Pop and them was playing at, they wake up in the morning thinking about how to get away with their hustle. They go to bed at night thinking about how to get away with their hustle. They spend all afternoon rehearsing and going over how to get away with their hustle. It's not a hobby.
Beyond Street Dreams. Documentary coming soon to Amazon Prime, Tubi, and Pluto TV.